Welcome to today's episode. I'm excited to welcome Mariita Carter Zollinger. Mariita grew up in Orem, Utah, raised by a hardworking single mother alongside her four sisters. She's currently pursuing her master's degree in the family nurse practitioner program at BYU, and she began her healthcare journey as a CNA at just 16 years old. She became a registered nurse in 2015, working in the Utah Valley Hospital Emergency Department for the last 6 years. Mariita has been married to her high school sweetheart, a police detective, for 10 years, and together they have 3 children. Her son Zion has faced incredible challenges, including a rare condition at birth and later a battle with an aggressive form of leukemia. Zion's journey, full of surgeries, chemotherapy, and miraculous recoveries, is nothing short of remarkable. Today, he is cancer-free, preparing to ring the bell next month. Outside of her professional and family life, Mariita loves MMA, particularly Muay Thai and Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu, and cherishes time spent at the beach, especially in Puerto Rico and Turkey, reflecting her cultural roots. Welcome to today's episode, Mariita.
Thank you.
Yeah, well, thanks for being here. So I met Mariita at a martial arts gym in Utah and instantly fell in love with her positive personality and just the light that she carries. And often the case with adversity, I mean, you look at people, you never expect that they're going through what they're going through. But for Mariita and her family to show up the way they do, in spite of the adversity that they've been facing, especially the past few years with Zion's journey, is just remarkable to me and very inspiring. So I'm excited to dive more into that and learn more about your strength and how you guys have been able to come together and just fight through everything that has been going on.
Oh, thank you.
So starting off, you mentioned in your bio that you grew up with a hardworking single mother and 4 sisters. How did those early experiences shape your resilience and work ethic?
I think being a child of divorce, you kind of become, I think they call it something with the key kid, because your mom's working 9 to 5 or she's working full time. And so you're kind of on your own after school and before school, getting to school. You also have to help out around the house. You have to help with the cleaning. There's not mom and dad to kind of run the household. It's mom and the kids running the household. And I got a job at 16. I think I've always had a job since I was 10, working, babysitting, something to earn money and kind of pitch in. And so starting as a certified nursing assistant in a nursing home at age 16 really taught me the value of hard work and kind of helped me feel good in serving others and helping others along the way. And it taught me kind of to grow up fast. So I think that helped with my resilience, that I had control of my life. And I can work hard and see results from working hard and feeling good about who I am.
It's definitely powerful to be able to recognize the effects of our own hard work and see the results there. I know that we do have that power and control over our existence, like you mentioned.
Yeah.
So definitely positives and negatives that can come with growing up in that single parent household. What are some of those things that you felt like you might have missed out on?
I would say the negatives were you kind of felt like you didn't fit the mold, like if I would go to my friend's house who had a mom and dad, I think that was as much as like it was fun to see how it would run. It was kind of a sad thing for me because I would see the dad and mom very invested in their children's lives. So they ask about how their day was and stuff. And my mom was just so busy, she didn't get that chance. And obviously my dad was kind of out of the picture. So
Right.
I think out on just having someone really invested in my life. I did come close to my little sister. I feel like we were a good team and kind of raised each other and so it did bring me closer to my siblings.
What was a way that you coped with that feeling of missing out?
I think at first I didn't cope well. I was searching for happiness in all the wrong places as a teenager. And I hit a lot of dead ends and a lot of rock bottoms. And when I found that I have a God in heaven who loves me is when it made all the difference. I was trying to find external worth. So I was trying to find happiness and worth from other people or other things or substances or things that wouldn't really truly make lasting happiness. So I got on my knees and prayed and said, God, are you there? And does happiness really exist? Is it there? Is it in this world, or am I just meant to be sad and lonely, and not find dead ends and rock bottoms? Is this life, And it wasn't until I got on my knees and I felt that I was internally worth something. God was telling me that I was loved for who I was and I had worth, no matter how much money I had, no matter what job I had, no matter who loved me, no matter what guy I was with, it just that moment where I started on my relationship with God and I knew that I had a savior who would, have my back in all things, then that changed my whole life.
Yeah, having that internal worth, that's probably one of the biggest things that has helped me and a lot of other women that I've talked with and worked with in their journeys as well. So it's always helpful to hear that from other women because I feel like going through that, a lot of times we feel like we're alone and it's just us going through that difficulty. But chances are when you meet another woman on the street or somebody else in your life, they probably, at least if not now, maybe in the past, they've dealt with self-worth issues and they could be seeing themselves as less than they truly are. And so it's so important for us to show up in a way that helps other people to see and feel their own light, which is something I feel like you are really good at by how you present yourself and interact with other people.
Well, yeah, I think you hit it spot on. I think women empowering women is so important because there's so many voices in the world that are telling women they're not good enough for so and so reason. There's always a reason we're not good enough, and we should be against each other, competitive against each other. And you're right, that's not going to be the answer at all, because we all need to be encouraged and uplifted and told that we're doing a good job and we're enough, because we as women are always going to beat up on each other. Like, this man came and spoke to us. I was a missionary for my church, and he was one of the apostles, we call him, and he came up to our church and he said, women, when you go to sleep at night, you're going to think of 9 things you did wrong and 1 thing you did right. And he's like, maybe in that day you did 9 things right and 1 thing wrong, and you're just going to focus on the 1 thing wrong that you did wrong, not the 9 things right you did right. And then he told men, he's like, men, you're going to go to bed doing 9 things wrong and 1 thing right, and at night you're like, yeah, I did something right. But at the end of the day, he's like, women, stop being so hard on yourselves. Like, those are our worst critics. And so knowing that, and knowing that there's so many voices in the world hurting us and like telling us we're not good enough, like, we need to know that there's other women, like you said, feeling that way, and just tell each other good job, tell each other we're good enough, tell each other we're beautiful. Like, I'm really, really passionate about that, clearly. But
which is amazing. I think we need more women in that space, just building each other up and helping other women see that when you come across another powerful woman, you're either going to be intimidated or inspired. And it all depends on where you're at with your own worth and whether you're finding that external or internal worth. I love what you said about worth there. So you started your nursing career at just 16 years old. What initially drew you to the healthcare space, and how has your passion for helping others evolved throughout your journey?
that's a great question. What drew me to it is there was like a free class that we could take and get a CNA certification. So I was like, oh, that's cool. We could get like a kind of a certification to help to be a nursing assistant. It pays more. So I'm going to free. I did it for free. And then I'm like, well, I'm going to look for a job. We need money. So I started beginning of my senior year in high school.
Okay.
And just being with the elderly people, some had dementia, like some didn't know what was going on in the world. And I was, changing their briefs. We call them briefs, but basically their diapers, and helping them go to the bathroom, go to bed, brush their teeth, even like if they had dentures, take them out, shower them. It's a job where one CNA has like 15 patients a day. And so you're just constantly running around working with people. But I met people from all walks of life. And I realized happiness comes from us serving each other, and not being alone, not isolating, but being with each other. And I saw a lot of loneliness in these people. And so just having the opportunity to talk to them and make them feel seen gave me a sense of fulfillment. And I just clung to that. And I love science as well. Like, I love how the body works. I love that it's advancing and we can help others heal. And I just really love the art of healing. And I wanted to learn more about how to heal. And I think we all go on these journeys to try and find ourselves, but true finding of ourselves comes from serving and getting to know other people.
100%. Have you ever thought about how you were drawn to that healthcare space growing up and in your profession, and then one of your children went through so much stuff in the healthcare field? What are the chances of that? Do you feel like God was kind of setting you up for that?
100%. They call it the nurse curse, but I do feel so led and guided by God, and so grateful to him, like, give him all the glory, because I was just a little Puerto Rican girl from a single mom home that wasn't even supposed to make it to college. How did I graduate with my bachelor's degree? How did I get into nursing school? It's so hard to get into nursing school. You have to have good grades. I never felt good enough for that kind of stuff. That wasn't my walk of life. I was supposed to be a CNA for the rest of my life. But God always, I feel, if we are listening to him, if we keep our eyes open, he'll lead us to where we're supposed to be, and he'll call us and make us greater than we ever thought we could become. Maybe our limits here, his limits up here for life. Like, he's always wanting us to grow and evolve and change into a better version of ourselves. He's not going to change us into a different version of us. We're still going to be us, and that's what makes us unique. But he's going to get us to our greatest potential. And what he was constantly teaching me is you have great potential. Like, even an emergency room nurse, it's hardcore to be an emergency room nurse. And I just remember walking past the emergency room doors once, and I had this gut feeling like, you need to work here. You need to work. I was like, no, that's crazy. It's trauma, it's blood, it's guts. I'm good with where I'm at. But I'm like, okay, if that's what you want, I'll apply. I applied, got the job, which isn't always easy. People apply multiple times usually to be an ER nurse. And I got the job and I learned how to access ports as an ER nurse. So that's what people with cancer have, is kind of a thing underneath the skin where they don't have to have IVs, because you could just put a needle in there and have venous access, or access to be able to give medications in blood and take blood and stuff. And sure enough, with cancer, you have to access and deaccess ports all the time. So I was so grateful to be working in the ER, and we learned how to resuscitate people all the time. People are code blue, we call it. Their heart stops, their breathing stops. That happens more in the ER than really anywhere else in nursing, I would say. Mm-hmm. So I've been through a lot of codes. We call them code blues. And one time, Zion stopped breathing after a surgery, and the nurse he had froze. And I was the one that resuscitated him. Could you, if I had no idea how to do that, and the nurse froze? So I started bagging him with a bag, and I told the nurse, I said, okay, go push that button. That means it's a code button. Let's get the team in here. And I calmly talked her through everything. It was like an outer body experience, but right then my training kicked in. I have to give all the glory to God for that. You're right.
Yeah, that is incredible. God is in everything. And it's really easy to forget that sometimes we're in the middle of a trial or adversity, but down the road, things are going to make a lot more sense. I'm sure going through your schooling and everything wasn't easy, but in the end, you had that knowledge and experience and everything helped you in the time where you needed it most. And it sounds like that was from God.
Yeah, for sure. For sure.
It's amazing. Can you walk us through a little bit of Zion's journey and help people understand what he's been through and how he's gotten to where he is right now?
Zion's journey started at birth when he was born early and they couldn't pass suction down his mouth. He just was like kind of choking on his own spit, and they realized his esophagus was just a pouch. So every time he swallowed, it would just go in the pouch and come out and he'd choke. And the bottom, they did an x-ray, and the bottom part of his esophagus was hooked to his trachea. So if he breathed in, he could put too much air in his stomach, or acid could go to his lungs. So it was a life-threatening condition, and then a bunch of other defects that kind of bunches into a diagnosis called bacterial association. So basically, they life flighted him to Primary Children's from Provo, and did the life-saving surgery, which was 6 hours long, which is so hard, for like 14 days because he had tubes everywhere. A breathing tube, everything tiny because he's just this big. So it was kind of like, is he going to be able to fight through this? And with lots of prayers, a miracle happened. And after 4 months, he came home. He had procedure after procedure to kind of stretch his esophagus open, complications from all that he was born with. But then by age 2, he was eating by mouth for the first time, which is really exciting. And ever since then, he's loved food. But before that, he has a tube in his belly called the G tube that he ate with. By age 3, he started walking, so he's progressing. We were so excited. And then age 4, he gets diagnosed with a rare, more aggressive form of leukemia called pH positive B cell acute lymphoblastic leukemia. And that was so heartbreaking because he had already overcome so much. And just like the day before he got diagnosed, we were hiking, and I was telling my husband, oh my gosh, he's come so far. Look at him hiking in the mountain. It was kind of like the calm before the storm, a really sacred hike up in the mountains, just connecting with nature and our family. And that was the beginning of a roller coaster. Having a child with cancer, it takes over your whole life, like mentally, physically, emotionally, financially. You have to lessen your hours at work. And it became our whole lives. We got thrust into it. And then you have to isolate as well, because any germ could really kill them, because chemotherapy kills all the stuff that fights your germs, fights viruses and stuff. So he ended up getting a lot of hospitalizations and a lot of bone marrow and cerebral spinal fluid taking for 2 years. And so we were just kind of living up at Primary Children's Hospital and fighting for our lives for 2 years. Wow. And to be doing well, but then one day he got a really bad headache and it got worse and he started throwing up. Turns out he had a lot of high pressure in his brain. He ended up going into coma and needing like a tube in top of his head to like drain the fluid out. And turns out the cancer went to his cerebral spinal fluid. Your cerebral spinal fluid's in your brain and spinal cord. It kind of cushions it. So the neurosurgeon was like, he's the first and only kid I've ever met I've ever seen to come out of a coma like this. So that was really hard. And then after that, he got an experimental treatment called CAR T-cell therapy. And then like a week after he got CAR T-cell therapy, he ended up starting to have seizures, like forgetting he couldn't talk. And then he ended up like spending the whole month pretty much with a tube in his mouth, intubated, a machine breathing for him. We really thought he wasn't going to make it. Science can't explain how he made it out of that month. And that was last year in September. And then for the past year, every 3 months, he's been getting bone marrow. So they take your bone marrow out of your hips. So they put him to sleep and like took his big needle in his hip and then take his bone marrow out. So he ended up with 2 shunts, which are like stuff to drain the fluid out of your brain. So it's just under the skin. So then they take cerebral spinal fluid out of one of the shunts and test for cancer. And this past month, he's been cancer free. So
Wow, that is huge.
kind of give him the clear and he gets to ring the bell. There's still some other stuff like saying he might have to fight another cancer in the near future, which is scary, but we're just going to celebrate this win and let that happen when it happens and just kind of live for the moment and let him have a win. He deserves a win after all he's been through.
I can imagine it would be difficult to be in the present there without worrying about the future. How do you and your husband and your family, how do you guys cope with that?
I would definitely say I have spiraled late nights looking on YouTube and Dr. Google and all the horrible stories that could happen. And it has stolen sleep from me. Honestly, I learned from Zion and we put it all in God's hands. And Zion is one of the greatest examples to me of a Christ-like human because he's so resilient and he's always happy and smiling. And even if he's just beat death and fought through the hardest thing of his whole life, he wakes up wanting food. I think as adults, we carry it. It's like, okay, let's add another rock to the backpack. Let's make it heavier and heavier and heavier instead of letting go and take rocks out and being like, you know what, I'm going to let this rock go and I'm going to walk away. He's so good at that. He's so good at starting each day like, okay, it's a new day. I'm not going to take that baggage from the past with me. I'm just going to start this day new. We love that. I love that about him because even when I told him like he really wanted his poured out, right? That thing I was talking about earlier. And would have been like given the clear this last time we would be able to take it out, but because he has that weird underlying stuff, they have to keep it in. I'm like, you're still gonna have to be monitored close, but I'm so sorry, you need to keep the port in. And okay. And I was like, oh, I was so scared to tell him because when the cancer came back, we were 2 months away from ringing the bell and being done with everything. So it was so hard because we were so close and he was getting so excited. And even when it came back, I'm like, I'm so sorry your cancer came back. Like, we have to keep fighting, but do you have any fight left in you? This 7-year-old boy, well, back then he was 6. This 6-year-old boy was telling me, yeah, no problem. As if he hasn't faced all, like he's been fighting this beast that seems undefeatable. And he's just like, yeah, okay. And he does have a really, I think children in general have a very close relationship with Christ. And he does teach us to just trust God, start each day new. You don't have to carry everything with you all the time. Like you can give it to God and he'll carry it for you. Like Jesus Christ, I believe, truly suffered for everything we're going through. And he knows exactly how you're feeling. And if you keep your eyes open and you speak with him and you have a relationship with him, he'll be in the details. You'll see him every day of your life, even in your hardest battles where the odds seem like you're going to lose big time, the odds are against, and you read that in the Bible, you can see that in so many circumstances, and I've seen that in our own life, that we could take the backpack off because he's already carried it for us, and he'll carry it for us every day.
Yeah, that's beautiful. It's so important what we choose to focus on.
Yeah.
Whether we're focusing on the adversity itself or we're choosing to look through to that source of hope and grounding, whether that's God or whatever source you have in your life. But ultimately, I mean, as a Christian, God has been my biggest source of strength as well. And it was so cool to see there was a tournament, I think it was like a year or 2 ago, but I remember your family was there. I think I had already competed and your daughter was competing and I saw Zion standing next to the coach and it's just so cute because he was talking to the coach and then while your daughter was competing, I saw Zion hold his hands and he was praying on the side of the mat and I was like, oh my gosh, so cute, one, but two, just like what a source of strength and inspiration. He knows where to go when he's nervous or scared. And I feel like you must have had a strong example of that from you and your husband, just from what I know about you guys. And even just, from this conversation, I can tell that your faith and spirituality is very important to you. And so I think it's amazing you're giving him that example of faith.
You're so sweet. Yeah, my husband is amazing. I'm not perfect at all. The outreach has been like incredible. My husband's a police officer, right? So family, and they've completely come through. My emergency department coworkers did Christmas for us one year. People reach out. God is in the details. I say that because he has an army of angels, and that's living and not living, like seen and unseen. People have no idea I'm praying that morning for something and someone shows up at my door. Like one day I didn't have any eggs and I wanted to make a dessert. And I'm like, dang it, I don't have any eggs, and too lazy. I'm too exhausted. Life is hard right now. I'm not going to go to the store. Like 5 minutes later, I kid you not, I get a ring at my doorbell. Someone doorbell ditches me. I open it and a neighbor left a bucket of eggs and peaches.
What
are the odds? No, thank you. That wasn't that important, but like he is in the details and he cares about what you care about. as I said, I'm not perfect. Wherever you feel you are, that's good enough. He will hear you and he will talk to you no matter if you haven't talked to him for 2,000 years. You know what I mean? Like I said, we all beat up on ourselves and we all don't think we're worth anything. But when we talk to him, we'll realize we are worth so much to him. And I believe he's my father in heaven and we're his daughters of a king.
I feel like sometimes we have this image in our mind of us, and then there's God, and then we feel like he's cut off from us, and maybe we're angry or upset or something, especially in the midst of adversity. But changing that perspective of actually, like, I'm the one with my arms folded across my chest. I'm the one keeping him out.
Yeah.
He's always got open arms, but we have to learn how to trust and let our arms down, let our guard down, and focus on him. And a lot of the times, he's asking us to trust in him in the face of the unknown. And I think that can be really scary for some people, especially when you've been through a lot of difficulty because you have that tendency to want to control everything in your life, and it's really hard to let go. But you know, that's really the key.
Yeah, 100%. I remember a time when Zion first got diagnosed with cancer. I was like, God, he has been through too much. Okay. I think I decided that Zion has already faced death in insurmountable odds enough. He doesn't need to suffer anymore. I don't want to see a child be in pain anymore. And I got on my knees fully expecting to just let him have it. Like, I'm going to yell at you and I'm going to be mad at you and we're going to throw hands right now.
Yeah.
And I got on my knees and on just floods of memories of what I was grateful for. How Zion was diagnosed. He was diagnosed early and people who were reaching out. And then on was in that prayer became a prayer of gratitude because I realized it could be so much worse. And he is there. Yeah, I think that's part of the journey of faith is the ups and downs. And
you mentioned your husband, and I can just imagine that big challenges like this, like, you know, especially medical challenges, it can be really divisive in families. What is something that you guys have done to come together in your time of difficulty?
I think you just have to go back to the beginning of me and Nick. Like we met, mom was a single mom too. We met in junior high. He remembers what I was wearing the first day he met me. He is like his sweetheart. And we were way too shy to date or anything in junior high, but we giggled at each other and talked with each other. And then in high school, we were best friends and like teased each other, but we were too shy to be together. Finally, age 16, we started dating. And so we just had a really carefree start to our relationship. And he was a good example of me of someone who follows God because I didn't know if I believed or anything, but he was a very strong believer in God. And he showed me because I was like, he's so different from other guys. Like, why is he always so happy? And he has much light about him. And he's so kind and he's not like just wants a piece of me. You know what I mean?
Right.
There's something different about him. And he was a big example to me of how I got a testimony of God and how I started to believe. So he is so amazing. So it started out just really got to know each other. We really got to spend time with each other. He went to the Marines after high school. So he's a very honorable person who served his country, you know, and then we ended up getting married later. But I think that foundation of we're still kids at heart and we always will be has helped us. And then our belief in God has helped us. It hasn't been easy and we do grieve very differently. I love to chat. I'm a chatterbox, you know, I like to all my feelings and he's just a more reserved, like a cop and like a Marine. And so we grieve very differently, but to recognize that's okay and to still take those little moments when we're all together as a family, we truly cherish that because the lows have been very low and the highs are very high. And sometimes you're with these kids and I'm with Zion at the hospital and we'll switch and I'll come be with the other kids and you'll be with Zion at the hospital. And so we didn't really see each other as much. And it is so hard and the stress is high and the money's low. And the only reason we have survived is, of course, God and therapy and like that just foundation of love. Like we love each other. You definitely need some professional help there. You know, we've had to work on ourselves. Like I said, we're here to grow and improve, and we need to both realize that you can't just be like, I'm perfect and you're not. You know, so I think we recognize we have flaws and we've just worked at it. But sometimes at the end of the day, we're just so grateful we survived it because it was so hard, you know, and we recognize that in each other. Like, oh, you good? Yeah, you good? We're here. We're surviving. We're okay.
Yeah.
But also very good. What Nick is so good at is making me laugh. Like he is so good at laughing in times of adversity. Like he is so funny. Like it could be the hardest day of our lives and he finds something to make me laugh or something to make Zion laugh. He can make Zion giggle on his worst day and get the whole family giggling. So I think that's important is to remember to find joy. We even one time went on a date in the hospital where we just went and ate in the cafeteria and people watched and he'd do different voices for people and we were just laughing. And we didn't even know if Zion was going to wake up in the morning. It seems so juxtaposition, but you'll find moments to be happy and laugh and in times of adversity and see the light and keep your eyes open for the hand of God. Even if it's just the littlest thing, you can hold on to hope.
Wow. Having that partner that has that ability to bring joy and peace and perspective, I can imagine that that has been such a blessing. So I'm very happy for you for you and your kids that you've been able to have that in your life.
Yeah, me too. I'm so grateful because he does. He is good at not taking anything too seriously, and that's so fun.
I've met him a few times at the gym, and yeah, he's always just positive, so welcoming. So he's awesome. Shout out when he listens. But we talked a little bit about that perspective and the mindset. So looking back, what has been the most significant mindset shift or lesson that you've learned from Zion's recovery and ongoing journey?
I guess even if you don't feel like you're strong enough, people are like, oh, you're so strong. No. Or sometimes in the world of Christianity, they're like, well, God gives his battles to the strongest fighters. No, that wasn't me. There's nothing he gives you that you can't handle. No, that wasn't me either. I think he gives you things in your life that you know you can't handle alone. So you have to rely wholly on him.
Mm-hmm.
And so I think I've learned that nothing is too hard for God. Nothing is impossible for him. And like you said, it's so hard when nothing is in our control. We love to control things. It's our life. Why can I make Zion cancer free? Why can I make him not suffer? Like, especially as a mother, like I would much rather be in his shoes 100%. Like, please let it just be me. I don't want to see him hurt. But I think when I've had moments where I've just cried and cried and cried, and like on the way home from the hospital, just driving home crying, and alone obviously, but when I'm alone driving from the hospital, going to see the other kids, all my husband's with my son in the hospital, I think like I can't do it alone. I can't take it anymore. Like you need to step in. Like there's nothing left. I have nothing left, and he has stepped in every time. And I guess that mindset is that there's nothing too hard for him. Maybe it's too hard for me, yeah, because I'm super weak and I can't do anything. But there's nothing too hard for him. So reach out, and never give up. Never give up. And I think I've always said that in posts about Zion. I say, like, Zion, never give up. You're never alone. And we're strong together. Those are the 3 takeaways I would say. Is like, never give up. You're never alone. And we're stronger together. Reach out for help. Ask for help. You are not alone. As women, I think especially as strong women, we think, oh, I can handle this alone. I'm a strong, independent lady. Ask for help. Just take them in. Don't isolate yourself. Because we are stronger together as a community, as women, as a family. We are stronger together. Don't isolate, don't shut down, don't give up. We're stronger together. As alone as you might feel, you're never alone.
Right. A lot of the times our feelings can lie to us. And so I think wisdom is knowing when there's truth in the feeling.
Yeah.
I love that advice and reaching out and recognizing that we each do have our strengths, but with God and with other people in our life, then it just amplifies our strength and we're all stronger together.
Yeah.
They have a love for martial arts.
Yeah.
And I do too. And it's amazing. And particularly, how has martial arts helped you cope with the stress and anxiety and adversity that you've faced in your life?
Oh my gosh, it's helped so much. Okay, so the reason we started at Wasatch, this little tiny place in another area, kind of in between 2 businesses, and I kind of boxed in high school and I loved it, and I had talked about it to my husband a couple times. And so for Valentine's Day, Zion was really sick as a baby, and he had a feeding tube, and he was just coughing. He was on oxygen, and he just wasn't doing well. I wasn't sleeping. I was up all night so worried about him, like if he was going to keep breathing, and my anxiety was just through the roof. And Nick was like, I'm taking you on a date for Valentine's Day. I'm like, no, who's going to watch Zion? He's like, my mom. I'm like, okay, fine. So it's 1 hour. What does he do? He takes me to go punch stuff. And I have never felt better in my life.
Wow.
It was 1 hour class and it was all there. Like you feel empowered and you're getting all your frustrations, all your anger. I said the anger can be healthy, just getting it out. And that's when I was like, I need this in my life. And we just never stopped going after that. I needed that release, and I needed that feeling. I am strong, I can fight things,
Yeah.
And then jiu-jitsu came later. My husband's like, oh, I love jiu-jitsu. It's like a chess game, and it's the best for self-defense because every fight goes to the ground. And I'm like, well, I just like punching stuff. I just feel good punching stuff. Yeah. And then one class of jiu-jitsu, I'm like, this is so cool. It is more of a mind game. Jiu-jitsu is a lot of thinking 2 steps ahead. And I love that. I loved having to think, if I do this, what is she going to do? And if she does this, what am I going to do? And I've done some research, and it showed for mental health, it's one of the best, especially for people who've been through traumatic things or have any kind of PT in our bodies. And it's the best at bringing your mind, body, and spirit all together because you need all of it for MMA. Right? And so I have found that that's actually facts. That's so true. It brings you to the present. You have to be present. If you're getting sat on or choked, you can't just disassociate. You have to keep fighting. And it is one of those things that teaches you never give up, but it also teaches you to stay calm in times of distress. And so I loved it for that, to be able to stay calm in moments when you feel like you can't breathe. Someone's sitting on your chest. And I think the most traumatic moments of my life, it feels like someone's sitting on my chest and I can't breathe and I have to think steps ahead. It's not the end. I'm not going to give up.
So you mentioned the benefit of martial arts bringing the mind, body, and spirit together, which is huge. I am all about that and helping people learn how to be in the moment and embrace the present. So for anybody out there who is struggling with anxiety or just walking around with a lot of pain or anger or frustration inside of them, get yourself into a martial arts gym.
Yes.
Face your fears, go challenge yourself. You can go in with a friend. You don't have to go in there alone. Just remember that you have a choice in what you choose to carry around with you. Like Mariita was saying, how Zion has that mindset of letting go of the rocks and letting go of the pain from yesterday and just showing up in the present and working to build that future that he wants. I think we're all capable of doing that. And so the stronger our mindset is, and also the stronger our community is, the stronger that we are.
Yeah.
Something that I love seeing with the Wasatch community, the gym in Utah, just their support with Zion and your guys' family and just everybody coming together. How was that for you, experiencing that from everybody?
Just so grateful. Like, you can't even put into words how much it was so needed, but I would never ask for help. I have the hardest time asking for help. So people who are like, whatever you need, just call me. Yeah, you're not going to get a call, the hardest time. But Wasatch, without even asking, just had Zion's name plastered everywhere, praying for him, donate for him. They did photography fundraiser where they took fun pictures of everyone, and everyone pulled through. They did a kickathon for him. The kids' classes kicked and donated money for how many kicks they did, and they gave them gloves with everyone signed the gloves, and it just makes you feel like you're not alone. Like I said, it's just that feeling of never alone. And when you're going through a really, really hard time and you want to isolate and you want to say nobody knows how I'm feeling, and you feel a lot of negative feelings, you feel sadness, you feel anger, you're going through stages of grief, kindness is one of the greatest gifts you can give someone. I can't stress other people's kindness and what it has done for my soul enough. You never know what someone's going through. Just because our journey is so seen because you have this little vault kid with you doesn't mean that the person next to you is fighting for their life too, just trying to hold on. And I have friends who have committed suicide, and I just wish I would have seen it, or they would have reached out. I think everyone who has a loved one who's struggling, people are fighting these unseen battles, and to have Wasatch there fighting with us was a beautiful thing, or to have anyone show any kind of kindness to us was such a beautiful thing, because it showed, again, it was evidence that God is in the details and that we're never, ever alone. And I just wish every single person knew that, who's fighting a battle. They have a whole army who will go behind them, reach out, and I'll be there, whoever, I wish people who were mean to others would realize you have an impact with your words, or even how you look at someone. If you look at them judging, or if you look at them like they're a piece of crap, they feel that. People feel that. Just be kind. Choose kindness.
Choose kindness. Be aware of your energy, how you're interacting with other people. Reach out when you need help.
Yeah.
Very powerful. Last question. What would you tell your 10-year-old self?
What would I tell little Mariita? I would say, you're never alone. Never give up. We're stronger together. God's got you.
Beautiful. Well, thank you so much, Mariita, for sharing a little bit about your story and expressing and sharing your faith with us. I am definitely inspired whenever I see anything to do with you and your family. I just think you guys are so amazing. So I know it's not always easy, but just know that you do have people there who care about you and are there to support you. You're over here telling people to ask for help when they need help. So I'm just going to say, you reach out, let me know when you need help, okay?
You too. And if you're in Utah, let's go out to lunch. Let's get some dinner. I love that you're trying to uplift and inspire and bring women together. Despite your battles and what you've been through, you have every right to be angry. And it's the harder choice to choose kindness and to choose healing and to choose love, and you're choosing it. So good job. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. I appreciate that. All right, everybody. I'm going to post a link of where you can connect further with Mariita if you are interested. And I would just encourage you guys to share this story with anybody who may be having a difficult time, or they're in the midst of some adversity and maybe their relationship with God is even suffering. And I think that anybody can find a lot of value from hearing Mariita's story. Reach out if you guys need anything. here for you, and we'll see you on the next episode.